Don't waste your breath trying to convince people that you are right. If they made up their mind about you already. In this world, particularly in 2025, everyone's too hasty to speak, too hasty to judge, too hasty to react. But you've got to be different. You've got to realize that silence is one of the most powerful weapons you have. When they approach you with negativity, disrespect, passive aggression, whatever it is, your power is not in what you respond with. It's in what you don't respond with. You don't need to respond. You don't need to defend. You don't need to explain. Why? Because silence is not weakness. Silence is discipline. Silence is focus. Silence is power. See, when you respond emotionally, you place the other person in control of your energy. And if they have control over your emotions, they will have control over your direction. That's why some folks try to push your buttons. They want you to lose your equilibrium so they can feel like they are in charge. But when you keep your calm, when you keep quiet, when you turn around without a word, that is a shout louder than any argument. That's how you say to them, you don't move me. You don't gain access to my peace. Everyone believes that silence is synonymous with being afraid. No, silence is the mark of having conquered yourself. It signifies that you are aware that not everything requires a reaction. Not every insult warrants a reply. Not every attack must be met. You don't engage in battles that won't benefit your future. You don't justify yourself to individuals who won't hear you out. You don't exchange your peace just to win a silly war. That is not wisdom. That is not growth. That is not where you are headed. You've got goals for 2025. You've got vision. You've got too much to lose. So when you feel somebody is trying to bring you into their drama, when they try to push your buttons, when they test your character, you smile, you nod, and you go. You don't respond, you disengage. Because responding, that's simple. Anyone can do that. What's difficult is maintaining your cool when all that's inside you wishes to clap back. What's difficult is opting for peace when chaos is trying to knock on your door. What's difficult is shutting them down with no words and being nice to yourself in the process. And I know it is tempting to say something, to have the last word, to get your point across. But listen, let me tell you something. The real ones don't speak about it. They are about it. The loudest in the room is not always the strongest. Sometimes the strongest in the room is the one who doesn't say a word, who walks away, who makes their success speak for itself. You ever notice how unbothered people carry themselves differently? That's because they've learned not to allow every opinion dictate their peace. They've discovered that silence guards what's holy, their energy, their attention, their tomorrow. So this year, be that person. Be the one to stop ranting and begin constructing. Be the one who doesn't share it, doesn't broadcast it, doesn't justify it, lives it. Let your outcomes speak. Let your tranquility speak. Let your absence speak. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to fight to be tough. Sometimes all you need to do is back off, remain quiet, and let the din blow over. Because at the end of the day, silence is not a lack of power, it's power. And when you learn that, they won't know what hit them. They'll be expecting a reaction that never comes. And that silence will be louder than anything that you could have ever said. Not everybody deserves access to you. Let that marinate. In a world where everybody wants to be heard, everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants to be followed, you've got to grasp your worth. You can't continue to give your time, your energy, your presence to individuals who don't value it. In 2025, you've got to go like you mean it. Stop appearing for people who wouldn't even text you back if the tables were turned. Stop checking in on people who never check in on you. Stop making room for people who only take and never give. Your energy is money. Stop giving it away like it's free. Some of you are exhausted, not because you're working too much, but because you're available too much. You allow others to call you when they want. You allow others to vent, to complain, to unload all their issues on you. But when you need someone, they're nowhere to be found. You're always there, always listening, always available. But what do you receive in return? Half-hearted commitment. One-word responses, broken promises. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's leeching. You've got to learn how to pull back, not out of hate, but out of love for yourself. You're not cold for cutting people off. You're not rude for choosing yourself. You're not fake for protecting your peace. You're finally realizing that your time is sacred. Your mind is sacred. Your heart is sacred. And if they can't treat it that way, they don't belong anywhere near it. You don't have to fight. You don't have to justify. You simply have to move differently, quietly, peaceably, reliably. They'll call you selfish the instant you cease doing something that serves them. Let them. They will spin, turn you into a villain, label you as cruel, but they know the truth. Deep within, they know they lost access to something worthwhile. And that's the key. Make your presence so intentional that your absence teaches them a lesson. You're not mad. You're just done. You're not bitter. You're just better. And now you're walking like it. You understand the part of you that allowed disrespect, that disregarded red flags, that continued to give second chances. That part doesn't exist anymore. You've grown out of it. You've changed. And with change comes distance. You can't take all people with you. Some individuals were for your past, not your future. Some were seasonal. Some were lessons. And some were simply distractions sent to keep you from finding out who you truly are. You don't owe allegiance to those who used you. You don't owe love to those who toyed with yours. You don't owe closure to those who knew precisely what they were doing and hurting you. What you owe is to yourself, to your mission, to your peace. That's where your allegiance is supposed to be now. And when you truly get that, you cease chasing, you cease justifying, you cease begging. You merely become unavailable to anything that does not support your growth. This is the year you get picky. The year that you discover access to you is a privilege, not a right. The year you no longer engage with everything that comes your way. Because when you finally know your worth, you don't drop your standards. You set higher boundaries. You don't respond. You let go. You don't debate. You eliminate. You don't linger. You move on quietly, assertively, without remorse. And that's how you defend what's yours, your energy, your spirit, your future. When you respond emotionally, you give away your power. Every time you let someone drag you out of character, you give them power over your energy. And that's precisely what some people need. They don't want peace. They want chaos. They want that moment where you lose your temper, where you say something you regret, where you expose your vulnerability so they can feel powerful. But 2025 is not going to let you get away with that. You have to be wiser than that. You have to understand that every response is an exchange. It comes at a price, your peace, your concentration, your momentum. And 9 times out of 10, that investment doesn't pay off. So stop offering people discounts on your energy simply because they're loud, obnoxious, or insecure. People will prod you, test you, try you, not because you've done something wrong, but because they see something in you they can't tolerate. Your calm bugs them. Your growth annoys them. Your silence reveals their chaos. So what do? They attempt to draw you in. They wish for you to argue. They wish for you to explain. They wish for you to react. Don't give them the pleasure. Don't give them the spectacle. Allow them to speak. Allow them to assume. Allow them to project. You remain grounded. You remain quiet. You remain above it. For the moment you react, you inform them they still have rights to you. You tell them they still get to you. You tell them that in spite of it all, they can still get under your skin. And that is not where your power resides. Your power resides in the pause, in the breath, in the space between the jab and your silence. That is where you construct your strength, in that 1 second where you might lash out. But don't. That's what discipline looks like. That's what growth feels like. It's not about being passive. It's about being strategic. You're not avoiding conflict out of fear. You're walking away out of wisdom. You don't owe anyone your reaction. You don't have to respond to everything that disrespects you. You don't need to justify your peace to people who profit from your chaos. There's a difference between defending your name and wasting your breath. And most of the time, the people you're trying to prove yourself to have already decided how they want to see you. No explanation will change that. But your silence will confuse them. Your silence will make them uncomfortable. Your silence will force them to sit with their own noise. There's something powerful about being unbothered. It does not mean that you do not feel. It means that you've learned to sift through what's worthy of your energy. And let me be certain, not reacting is not weakness. It's maturity, it's strength. It's knowing that your time is best spent creating your future rather than arguing over your past. So when they come for you, when they throw light, when they lie, manipulate, or attempt to provoke you, smile. Not because it's humorous, but because you see it clearly now. They do not desire resolution. They desire reaction. But you're not providing that. You've worked too hard on yourself to let a moment negate your progress. You've traveled too far to let someone pull you back to who you once were. In 2025, the actual flex is poised. The actual glow up is serenity. The actual revenge is quiet. So cut the cord, not with rage, not with commotion. Just evaporate from the spaces that no longer serve your growth. Allow your peace interrupt their turbulence. Allow your silence be the message. And let your chi or mind as your most precious property, guarded by any means possible. In 2025, with all the noise, distraction, and bad vibes floating around, you can't possibly afford to give just anything and anybody free rent in your head. The conversation you're having, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're reading, it all determines you think, how you feel, how you move. So ask yourself who's occupying space in your mental space. And more significantly, do they belong there? You have goals, dreams, visions, and they need clarity. But you can't remain focused if your mind is full of drama, gossip, fear, self-doubt, and toxic influence. You can't level up if every time you sit down to work, somebody's voice is ringing inside your head, reminding you of what you can't, what you're not worth, or that you'll never make it. That's why you've got to cut them off. Not with noise, not with drama, silently, calmly. Because defending your mind is defending your future. See, not all damage is physical. Mental wounds are some of the deepest. Some of the strongest chains are thoughts sound by individuals who never believed in you. And if you do not intentionally move against them, such thoughts tend to be permanent. They begin defining your identity. You begin restricting yourself, not because you cannot, but because you've been programmed to perceive that you shouldn't. You have to detoxify your mental space, clean house. If the words in someone's mouth continue to echo in your mind and bring you down, they're gone. If there's a relationship that continues to make you wonder about your value, and if the people you surround yourself with are negative and filled with small-mindedness, leave. Not everything warrants a response, but everything demands choice. And for this season, The choice is to defend your peace no matter what. You have to cease entertaining discussions that bring you down. Cease providing energy to nowhere conversations. Cease reading every comment. Cease reacting to every criticism. Some folks simply want to live rent-free within your mind because they know they cannot reach you in real life. But when you take that space away from them, when you cut off the access, when you delete their voice from your mind, you win. You are free. You reclaim the power. This isn't about ignoring negativity. It's about protecting your mind so that it does not own you. You are the gatekeeper. You get to decide who remains and who departs. And just because someone's been in your life for years doesn't mean they're entitled to your headspace forever. Some people came with the old version of you, but you're evolving now. You're healing. You're focused. You're moving different. That means the people, the conversations, the energy, all of it needs to align with your new standard. Peace is the new success. Focus is the new wealth. Mental clarity is the new luxury. And in 2025, if you're going to grow, if you're going to succeed, if you're going to live on purpose, your mind must be guarded as if your life depended upon it, because it does. Everything begins up here. Your confidence, your ambition, your vision. So don't just guard your money, guard your mind. Don't just guard your time, guard your thoughts. And if a person's presence is disrupting your mental peace, it's time for their silence. No argument, no justification, only distance. Keep in mind, you only have so much real estate in your mind. Stop renting it out to things that don't further your mission. Begin clearing space for belief, for gratitude, for discipline, for purpose. Let the noise recede. Let the doubts expire. Let the old voices become distant. And let your future breathe. On be the last word. To cut them off isn't heartless. It's clear. It's not about being hard-hearted or merciless. It's about seeing things as they are and not as you wish they would be. It's about understanding that you've been dragging people along who never should have been going where you're going. And in 2025, the mission is too important. The vision is too distinct. And your peace is too valuable to continue carrying dead weight. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to cease giving your energy to those who contribute only confusion, chaos, and inconsistency. You don't need to have an epic blow-up. You don't need to write a lengthy message. You don't have to keep explaining yourself. Others already know why you're letting them go. They just didn't think you'd ever do it. They thought you'd always forgive, always stay, always be nice. But now you're at a place of clarity. Now you understand their words never aligned with their actions. Their loyalty was not unconditional. Their presence was only useful when it benefited them. And that realization, that's what gives you the courage to walk away silently, firmly, and without guilt. You owe it to yourself to stop choosing potential over patterns. How many times have you looked at someone and said, but I know what they could be, while completely ignoring who they consistently are? How many times have you stifled your own intuition simply in order to maintain harmony, to prevent conflict, to cling to something broken for so long? It is not cruel to end the pretenses. It is not brutal to cease lying to yourself. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. And clarity begets liberty. When you cut someone off, it isn't always because you despise them. It's because you love yourself enough to no longer get hurt by them. You finally get that you can't continue investing in someone who only bleeds from you. You can't continue arriving for someone who continues to vanish when you need them most. You can't continue having the same conversations over and over again, attempting to repair what has already demonstrated to you it doesn't want to be repaired. It's not your job to keep saving people who won't fix. You're not their hero. You're not their therapist. You're not their emotional punching bag. You're a whole person with purpose, with worth, with aspirations. And if they can't value that, they don't deserve access to it. Clarity brings peace. Clarity knocks over the excuses. Clarity makes the next step obvious. And after you have clarity, you don't need to argue anymore. You don't need to justify your decision. You don't need to defend your boundaries. You just move differently. You make space. You go quiet. You let the distance communicate, because quiet is a boundary as well. And sometimes the only reason you need to give for being there or not being there is your absence. This is your moment to defend your space like never before. In order to be around people who have your energy, who lift you up, who cheer for you when you win, who lovingly correct you, not ego. People who don't just want to get a seat at your table, but contribute something to it. And anyone who can't meet you there, they're not the enemy. They're just not in alignment. And alignment is more important than attachment. So no, cutting them off isn't cruel. It's clarity. It's you declaring, I choose peace over drama. I choose purpose over distraction. I choose me. And once you make that choice, everything else becomes easier. The noise fades, the guilt disappears, and the visual you don't need an audience to heal. You don't have to proclaim every step, justify every choice, or establish to everyone why you're opting for peace instead of hurt. In 2025, healing in silence is the actual power move. You don't owe somebody a meltdown. You don't owe somebody your process. You don't have to justify why you stepped away, why you ghosted them, why you went radio silent. You can walk away from anything that disturbs your peace and do it wordlessly. Let them assume whatever they'd like. Let them write their own narrative. You know the truth, and that's all you need. Healing doesn't have to be boisterous. It's not always shared on social media. It's not always some kind of public statement that you're okay now. Occasionally, healing is taking a temporary leave, switching off your phone, getting quiet, getting still. It resembles deleting outdated conversations you'd used to go back and read hoping they'd mean something else. It resembles unfollowing without notice, blocking without regret, and embracing solitude over false solidarity. Because healing doesn't require permission. It requires commitment. You don't heal by trying to prove anything. You heal by releasing the need to prove anything at all. There is a time when you no longer play the rewind tape of your past and begin to rewrite your future. And that is something that has to happen internally. Nobody else needs to get it. Nobody else needs to agree with it. When you're truly healing, you know that closure isn't always an apology. Sometimes closure is you coming to terms with what occurred, accepting that you will never receive the answers you desired, and choosing to move on regardless. You cease to wait for them to repair what they destroyed. You cease to hope they will one day realize your value. You cease to need to be selected because you finally selected yourself. And that healing, it is quiet. It is holy. It is not done for display. It's for you. It occurs in the seconds when no one is looking, when you sit with your thoughts rather than fleeing from them, when you finally talk to yourself kindly rather than ripping yourself apart, when you cease asking, why did they do that to me? And begin asking, why did I let it go on so long? That's where the true change starts. When you stop trying to go back and start creating something new from the ashes of what was. You're not broken, you're rebuilding. Don't let the world rush your process. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll feel like you're falling apart all over again. That's okay. That's part of it. But just because you're still hurting doesn't mean you're not healing. It means you're human. Give yourself grace. Give yourself patience. And give yourself silence when you need it. You don't have to post it to prove. You don't have to speak it to make it real. Just live it quietly, powerfully, with intention. Let them wonder where you went. Let them miss your energy. Let them talk. Because while they're observing your quietness, you're creating something they can't see. A harder mind, a gentler heart, a clearer direction. You're not lost. You're just no longer where they left you. You're growing in the shadows, growing in the dark, healing quietly. And when you return, you won't need to speak a word. Your serenity will do it all. ChatGPT can get things wrong. Verify key info comes into focus. In 2025, distraction surrounds you in your phone, the feed, in your relationships, and most of all in the individuals around you who quietly resent your progress. But listen to me clearly. You didn't come this far to be derailed by noise. You didn't struggle through your past. Overcome your setbacks and redefine your mindset just to allow someone's inconsistency or negative vibes push you off track. You've got a mission. You've got something within you that needs your undivided attention. So if a person isn't assisting you in building, moving forward, or staying grounded, then they're pulling you off course. And you don't owe them another second. Stay fixated. Stay laser focused. You're not here to justify your hustle, apologize for your ambition, or pace yourself so others can feel at ease. You're here to win. And winners don't have time to argue, prove, defend, or chase. Each time you get drawn into some trivial back and forth, each time you tolerate someone who doesn't respect your vision, you slow down your progress. They need to distract you because they know that they cannot keep up with you. They need to provoke you because it's the only thing that makes them feel relevant to you anymore. But when you stop reacting, when you stop giving them room, you snap their hold on your energy. There is a distinction between being available and being accessible. You need to stop being accessible to everybody. Not everyone is worth your time. Not everyone is worth a place at your table. You earned your peace. You fought for your mindset. You constructed this new you brick by brick. So when someone comes at you with confusion, with inconsistency, with ill intentions disguised as friendship, cut them off quietly. No drama, no announcement. Silence. Let your distance be the message. Make your absence your growth. You can't keep allowing yourself to get sidetracked by the same routines. You can't keep allowing others to re-enter your life because they've mastered how to text you at the right moment, because they've mastered how to say the right words. That is manipulation, not love. That is distraction, not destiny. And every second you spend in that uncertainty is a second you've taken away from your future. Don't allow people who are stuck in neutral to bring you out of drive. Your focus is your weapon. Guard it like it's your life. Because it is. You need to become fixated on your growth, fixated on your healing, fixated on your goals. This isn't about cutting people off. It's about clearing space for what really matters. When you're locked in, you don't have time to justify why you're not responding, why you're not appearing, or why you're no longer engaging in certain topics. You're concentrated, you're constructing, you're growing. And not everyone gets to see that. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your growth. This year, break your concentration for things less than your future. You know who they are. You already know who's distracting you. You already know what habits lead you astray from your greatness. So don't wait for it to be chaos. Cut it now. The deeper you dive into your purpose, the more distractions will appear. But when you're grounded, when your vision is cleared and your energy is guarded, nothing can derail your momentum. You owe it to yourself to remain focused, not only for today, but for the life you're attempting to create, the legacy you're attempting to leave behind. So when the distractions arise and don't respond, don't rationalize, don't defend, Just drown out the noise and return to work. Let them ask questions about what occurred. Let them gossip. While they're busy being distracted by drama, you'll be quietly building your future. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. Elevation requires separation. It's one of the hardest truths to accept, but one of the most necessary if you're serious about your growth in 2025. You cannot reach new levels while staying connected to the same old habits, the same old environments, and the same people who keep you stuck in who you used to be. It's not personal, it's purpose. The next chapter of you requires you to release everything and everybody that no longer fits where you're headed. That's the ones that had your back, but can't seem to clap for you when you win now. The ones that play dumb about your progress when in fact they're just uneasy that you surpassed them. You can't fly with dead weight. You can't construct while continually being yanked back into drama, into negativity, into mindsets that minimize you. Some individuals were only ever supposed to journey with you for a season, and that season, it's finished. When you begin rising, you'll see the change. The energy doesn't quite feel the same. The chats begin to feel hollow, and your spirit tires around certain individuals. That's not coincidence. That's your heart speaking. It's time to break away. But breakaway is not bitterness. It's not hate culling. It's moving in love. Love for your future. Love for your peace. Love for your purpose. It's understanding that some relationships are no longer vibrationally aligned. That some people were amazing for the old you, but the healed, concentrated, disciplined you. They no longer resonate at your frequency. And if you attempt to cling out of obligation, you'll hold yourself back. You'll waste your time and energy justifying your expansion rather than embodying it. Elevation comes at a price. It costs convenience. It costs comfort. It costs comfortability. It costs relationships that you believe are going to last you a lifetime. But the cost of remaining stagnant is steeper. You weren't created to play small. You weren't born to cycle with the same folks for the same reasons just because history. You were born to soar. And soaring calls for choices that may not make sense to the masses. So let them chatter. Let them get it wrong. Let them call your silence arrogance. You don't owe people an explanation who are not growing alongside you. The thing is, if the person actually cares about you, they will grow along with you. They will adapt. They will compromise. But if they are constantly pulling you backward, questioning your decisions, sucking energy out of you, or making you feel bad for wanting more, that's your cue. That's when you know this new chapter isn't about them. And it doesn't equate to you not caring. It means you care too much about your purpose to keep watering it down for others' comfort. Growth can be isolating, but that loneliness, it's temporary. It's the space between who you used to be and who you're becoming. It's the silence in which you rebuild, rewire, and refocus. It's where your confidence grows, where your mindset is honed, where your vision broadens. And when the correct people arrive, they will match that vibration. You will not have to beg for assistance. You will not have to compromise your standards merely to be heard. You'll draw to you what you've become, but only after letting go of what no longer serves you. Then when the time arrives, and you will know, don't wait, separate, exit quietly, sever ties without rancor, expand without regret. Let the rise be the proof itself. You don't have to debate. You don't have to justify. The distance will prove you've selected mission over comfort, vision over tradition, and destiny over distraction. ChatGPT can err. Verify vital information. Let absence speak for itself in a world where everyone needs to talk, to explain, to post, and to be heard. Your most potent strength may lie in your silence. Not all must be told. Not all departures must be announced. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is go away quietly, utterly, and unexpectedly, because silence creates us, and that space gets people thinking. It makes them think. It makes them ask why your energy is no longer present. And that question, that's the message. That's how they feel when you no longer appear, when you no longer respond, when your presence, the steady, reassuring one, disappears into thin air. You don't have to yell, scream, or demonstrate your argument. When your energy speaks on its own terms, absence is the loudest voice. Let them sit in the space that you once occupied. Let them come to their own realization of what they took for granted, what they played with, what they did not value. Because whereas words can be distorted, denied, ignored, silence compels introspection. You cannot speak over silence. You cannot defend yourself against it. It simply is. And when you lose access to someone and can't understand why, that's when the message comes through. See, when you're gone without a word, they're left to wonder the difficult questions. Why did you leave? What role did they play? What did they do or not do that created the rift and that unease, that bewilderment? That silent echo of your departure, that's growth. Not for them, for you, because you finally left the loop of having to fix everything, explain yourself, or keep the peace at your own expense. In 2025, peace is the currency. And you can't continue to keep handing yours over just to not be misinterpreted. If they never appreciated your presence, let them sense your absence. If they rejected your dedication, let them hear the quiet when you cease reaching out. If they jeered at your aspirations, disrespected your development, or played games with your generosity, let them occupy the quiet of your vanishing. No farewell speech, no farewell. Simply leave. Some people only realize your worth when they no longer have access to you. And when you finally stop appearing, when you finally stop over-explaining and overextending, they'll notice. They may not say it aloud, but they will. And believe me, that silence will reverberate louder than anything you could ever say. That's how you take back your power. That's how you guard your energy. That's how you ascend, not with sound, but with quiet that is loud. It's not petty. It's not revenge. It's self-respect. You've done your work. You showed up. You remained loyal even when it hurt you. But now, protect your peace. Now choose yourself. And you don't need to make a scene to make a statement. Just stop showing up. Stop responding. Stop explaining ghosts. Not in hate, but in wisdom. For when you know you've been speaking to those who never listened to you, serving those who never served you, loving those who only endured you, your silence is sacramental. Your distance is sacred. Let absence be the message. Let it speak where you once gave too much. Let it resonate in their hollow expectations. You don't owe closure to those who decided to misinterpret you. You don't owe an explanation to those who disregarded your boundaries. You owe yourself the peace of finally walking away and saying nothing whatsoever. Let them feel it. Let them miss it. Let them learn. Let them grow so strong they can't touch you. Not physically, not financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. In 2025, the true flex isn't revenge, it's elevation. It's becoming so grounded in your purpose, so secured in your growth, so centered in your peace, that anything they say, anything they do, and anything they attempt cannot touch you. That is strength. That is evolution. That is what occurs when you cease attempting to be understood and begin concentrating on being unstoppable. You've got to outgrow the drama, outgrow the gossip, grow beyond defending yourself. You need to make yourself so strong on the inside that other people's opinions do not matter. So many of us waste our time responding, clapping back, establishing points, but none of those things create legacy. None of those things bring peace. None of those things cause you to grow. The strongest individuals aren't those who yell the loudest. They're the ones who rise up in silence and let their life do the talking. There is a time when you no longer lower yourself to be heard by individuals who were never supposed to see your vision. You no longer react to the same disrespect, no longer entertain the same energy, no longer explain the same truth again and again. Why? Because you've matured, because you finally realize that not everybody's going where you're headed. And attempting to bring them along only makes you later. This is the time when you move differently, when you think differently, when you show up differently. And because of that, they can't touch you like they could before. Some people lived off your vulnerability. The you who kept your mouth shut when they used you, who offered too many second chances, who let love cover your eyes to abuse. But now you're wiser. Now you've healed. Now you understand your worth. And the same moves they made last time, they don't fly. They text and you don't respond. They push and you don't budge. They push and you don't respond because you've grown up, and that growth, it makes you invincible. This type of strength isn't brazen. It's not pretentious. It's constructed in early mornings, in solitary seasons, in late evenings where you sat with your pain and wouldn't let it dictate you. It's constructed in those times you wanted to fight back but responded instead. It's constructed with every no, every walk away, every protection of your energy, and every silence built up. And now you're on a frequency they can't access, not because you despise them, not because you're superior to them, but because you finally made up your mind to stop playing small for people to feel at ease. The next level of your life demands a next level version of you. One who doesn't wince at shade, one that doesn't crack under stress, one that travels with foresight, not feelings. And when others from your past attempt to drag you back, attempt to make you remember who you once were, you won't even hear them because you're too far ahead, too gone, too concentrated. They'll grab, but they won't be able to catch you. They'll phone, but you won't be available. They'll talk, but it won't reach your spirit because you've outgrown the noise. So grow. Grow so strong that peace is your baseline. That boundaries are a given. That self-worth is absolute. Grow so strong that even if they tried, they couldn't get to you, not because you were hiding, but because you've healed. And healing is the tallest wall, not constructed out of rage, but out of metamorphosis. Not to keep them away, but to keep you on track. You don't have to break anyone. You simply have to grow yourself. Because when you emerge as who you were destined to be, those who attempted to shatter you won't be able to find you anymore. You'll be gone, not in the physical sense, but energetically, untouchable, unbothered, unreachable. That's the energy of true growth. Undefined ChatGPT can error. Check vital information.